So welcome to this Zoom. We just had one in German, and now we have one in English. So everybody's happy. And this one is about creation, and a question that I have been having in my world for a longer time, and it's inspired and definitely got it from Stephen Titissa Bowman, and I hear Gary using it as well, and he has it, and whoever came up with it, I don't know, and it doesn't really matter, but people using it has, for me, changed a lot of the way I create. I have personally looked at creating greater for me, for the world, for everybody, in that energy of greater, whatever it means. And one of the questions that helped a lot to me and contributes so much is really asking everything I'm choosing is, am I creating or am I proving? And just by asking that, am I proving or am I creating? In the moment of creation, in the moment of choice, the thing that shows up there is the energy of it, the energy of whatever I'm choosing. And it's not to judge it then afterwards, not to conclude from it. It's not to make a point. It's only to create awareness where you're choosing from. Because in this world, I think you all know there's a lot of proving going on. If you're successful, if you're choosing right, to avoid choosing wrong. Well, most of us are looking to have something more of something. A lot of people want to create more money or more freedom, more space, a relationship, anything. And in this world, what I see in this reality, a lot of people try to prove and sell and show you this works from a proving energy. Some invite you to different possibilities, so everything exists. But I see a lot of the proving, and they market it also quite intensely, and a lot of people think, oh, we have to do it that way, otherwise it's not going to work, and there's a lot of marketing tricks behind that, and that's fine, and they are allowed to be there, and we don't want to start having a point of view about that. It's more like, okay, if you would look at the energy when you're creating or choosing something, you would ask yourself, am I proving or am I creating? You will see the energy where you're trying hard or desperately to make it work, where it is from proving, where it can be from proving that I am not a failure, that I'm not insufficient, that I can make it, or that this works. Or you can also prove that you can't make it work, or that money does not work for you, or that the possibilities aren't enough. So you can prove both sides all the time. They're like, hey, you're welcome. This one. Proving is like infinite here if you want to choose it. And this reality will invite you to prove. And while you're doing that, you're usually limiting the possibilities you have. Because through proving, you'll have to go through a filter of points of views, judgments, conclusions, and all those things. A competition is one of the most amazing ones included in proving. And I've been working with Stephen Titissa. Every creation we choose, we have been asking, is it from proving or creation? Because even if you create, you have a lot of space and you don't have money issues and all that, you can still be proving some stupid point of view that you don't really realize. So by asking, you get the awareness. And we've been sitting there like, oh, this is proving that, and that. And we're like, oh no. And then we're like, oh, let's just not do that. And then we start looking at something different again and just start asking more questions and going for a different energy. Because you can prove anything. And this is where it's not important to know exactly what you're proving or to get over it or whatever. But in the moment you get aware, you have so much more possibilities. And you might choose exactly the same project, exactly the same product or service or business or whatever you're doing, but it comes from a very different energy. And you will get aware that you'll get some different awareness of your choices along the way if you don't have the proving involved. And a lot of people also, what I've noticed when they are creating something really great and they come up to the energy of that it's becoming so successful, it's almost like proving starts being added to it because you kind of become something in this world. And then you have to keep it. And that often almost like invites proving to your world, and then you don't have to choose that. But then it gets sticky. And then what I've seen with humanoids, people that create a lot, they get not as happy with their creations. They also can get bored. They can get almost like, I don't like it anymore. And if they don't ask a question, they can destroy something really great really quickly. Because often humanoids at some point don't like the way they're proving something. And instead of like, oh, I'm proving, let's change that. And in this world, you're kind of invited to prove. You're invited to prove if you're successful. You're invited to prove, or almost like, hey, you have to prove that you do this right, or that you're not a failure, or that you have money on your account, or prove that you're like, how do you prove if you're successful? And then the funniest part is when we prove that we're not. When we prove that money doesn't work, where the limitations are real, or that we can't make it work, or we are like everybody else but not me, that is an amazing proving too. So proving is used in every area of our life. So it's not one way or the other, but the proving energy can come along and also limit everything that you know that is possible, what you're aware of. Because you can have an awareness of creation, and along the way, you kick in the doing, how to do it right in this reality, and then you'll prove if that doing is right. So then the proving kicks in again. So I'm like wondering what else is truly possible if we didn't function from proving. And that has been intensely in my world, looking at that, because it can be a little subtle energy, but I also see how it triggers my mind to think, to conclude, to judge. And it gets like contracted in the whole energy. I'm like, okay, that's not as fun. And I can avoid, and I go like, oh, let's go somewhere else. Let's do something else. Cause I have enough projects going on. Instead of asking questions for that project to create, contribute, to expand or whatever, I can dismiss it in 5 seconds. And like, no. And then it can go, and sometimes it takes longer to destroy it, but not often. And I was like, oh, what would happen if I was willing to not prove anything? But be aware that people are proving. And if somebody needs a proof, well, deliver it. But you just have to say it. You don't have to be it. So in this world, if you're working with business, people will want to hear, and you can deliver that. But it's a very different energy if you're delivering something needs to hear, or you're being it. And for humanoids, it's good to be aware of this, so you don't go unconsciously against yourself and destroy a lot of possibilities. This is one of the things I was like, okay, what if we really would be willing to ask the question, or ask questions, and allow ourselves to be aware? Am I proving? What does it mean? And you can continue doing it. It's just a choice. It's nothing right. It's nothing wrong. If you're willing to let it go, what I see a possibility is that you access so much more of your potency and capacities, ideas, energies. It's like, if you don't have to prove, you can just play. You can go for it. You can try it out, and then I can just try it out, and I'm not a failure. It just didn't work, and then I move on. But if I have to prove that was a good idea, then I have to kind of defend what didn't work out. And then I'm stuck in that energy instead of like, oh, that didn't work. Let's go on. Let's do something else. What else can I try? And if you have no proof, no defending, you're like a rocket. Like, it goes so quickly. And you become also unstoppable, I would say. And people will definitely try to limit you. So just be aware also when you start creating non-linear in a way that nobody else can really figure out. They don't understand, because you should try this linear things, A and then B, and if you do that right, this happens. Or maybe you have C, D, F, you can try those, and if you try those, that works. People sometimes require that, and you can you know your creations, then try to give it linear to them. That doesn't matter. You know it wasn't like that. You asked a question, it showed up. No, that doesn't work like that. What's your business plan? Oh yeah, I wrote it down. I'll show you. Like, whatever is required. I mean, this is the funniest thing. I remember starting my business in Sweden. I didn't have to get a loan, but to start a certain 6-month project where you get a little support, I had to deliver a budget, a plan, and everything. And I was like, how do you do that? It's all fake. I didn't understand how they could believe something that's totally fake. And I was like, it's not really, I don't have the clients. I don't have everything. It's not there. So I'm just delivering something on paper that they will like. And then they say yes. And I'm like, I feel like the biggest liar on the planet. And they're super happy. And then they say, yeah, with this plan, you could even go to the bank and get money. And I was like, what? I was literally really shocked that with a budget that has no sense of reality, no evidence that it worked, works to me to get money. I was like, oh, this reality is really freaking strange. Okay. So if this works, because this is the right way of doing it to prove that I'm capable, I'm like, I just have to lie really well. Oh, okay. I have to work on that. But I was like, I guess in that moment, something like, fuck, this is strange. I don't get it. And then I started trying to figure out how to do business instead of just doing it. And that slowed down my creations a lot. And in this time frame, I don't remember if it was after the first or second year, that's when I found Access, and they asked me questions and gave me different possibilities. And Gary encouraged me to have 15 to 20, well, maybe 20,000, but 20 income streams instead of having the 3 perfect ones to put on my website to make it clear what I'm doing so people understand what I'm doing. And I was dying from that because that didn't work. And I was like, I had to prove that worked. Or they were trying to make me prove that it worked, and it didn't work for me. And then when basically Gary contributor asked some question about that, and he facilitated me looking at how different I am, what's required for me to get going, what makes me fucking happy that I never want to stop creating. Oh, that's me. Oh, I'm just different. So when I'm willing to really acknowledge how different, and I don't have to know everything, I just have to start trying out things, because some things will be more fun than I thought, but I had maybe concluded I'm good at that or I'm bad at that. Then I always have to prove that I am or not, instead of like, okay, if I'm totally different, what works for me? What would be fun? Because if I'm joyful, I know I create more, I do more, I want to do more too. I'm like, that just gets me going every morning. Oh, that. So I had one thing that I was looking at, because I try all the time new things. So I put up an amount of money I want to create every month. And sometimes I do that just for fun. And I can say until now, it's always worked. So then, little smart Lisen, let's do the same amount for every month. And I put really high. Let's do that. After 1.5 months, I'm fucking bored. I don't even like my number, even if the number is fucking amazing. I told Christina today, another Christina, I was like, it doesn't work for me. And she's like, why not? Well, it's fucking the same number every month. I'm already bored. How's it going? I'm like, okay. And I could hear myself. I was not happy. Hi, Marianne. I was not happy. So what I looked is from something I was concluding, and then the whole proving and making it work kicked in. Instead of like, oh, what would I like this month? Maybe it works for me to generate amounts, but maybe I have to ask a question instead of making a conclusion and making, oh, this would be fun for a year. That's basically telling me to stop creating beyond that. And I was like, okay, this is an amazing, amazing number. And what proving do I have here? Is it proving or creating? Proving now. Okay, first one was creating. Now it's proving. It doesn't mean I'm creating less. It's just an energy. And I was like, pot and pock, all that shit. That's not fun. I'm not waking up and like, what can I do for that? What can I create here? Oh, that doesn't work. Okay, that's not working for me. It doesn't mean it's wrong for anybody else. For nobody. It can be perfect for everybody. And this is where I have to be willing to ask questions to get aware, where am I creating? And where am I proving? And where am I destroying possibilities? Because that one is really easy. Am I willing to create, or am I willing to prove this reality works? There's somebody interesting on the call. Wait a second. That was a spam intruder. I've never had that before. Somebody used a link to put in some weird stuff in there. Or somebody, I just threw them out. If you were the person, just come in again. That was funny. See, who knows what can happen on assume that everybody can join. I've never had that. I like that. Yes, but the good thing is I am in control. I have the control. I can throw out people. I've learned that on Zooms. I can throw out people I don't want to have there. And I was like, oh. And also have fun with this reality, because this reality is so weird, and it's definitely here to limit you, like family sometimes is. And just be aware of that. Because if you get aware of that, you don't have to make yourself wrong, and then you don't have to agree or align or resist or react to somebody else making you wrong or So if somebody hears your ideas and you're creating something and it's so irrational and it doesn't work for them the way you created, they might get triggered and try to make you wrong or put you again into the box of how to create or how to linear you again. And this is where well, if somebody's there and you need them around, then just give them what they want to hear and continue creating, because you can create freaking amazing. Yeah, and also last conversations I've heard with Dane and Gary and everything, it's like the capacities we have, they've almost like grown so large because there's less limitations in the universe. We don't see that because we're just being. And then sometimes we ask for things that are in a way that we did maybe a month ago or half a year ago or a year ago because it worked then. And then for it to work the way it worked when we decided it worked, we have to limit our capacities so it works that way, not the way it could work today. And I was like, oh my God. So any conclusion I have, oh, that's great, that does work, da, 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 da. They might work, but if I'm willing to be in the question, they can work in the energy that you're being today, not the one you were in a week or a month or half a year ago, because you're very different today, very different. We sometimes can use our capacities to prove wherever we are instead of just being them. And I was like, oh, this is really exciting. If I'm always willing to be the question and ask, there's just infinite possibilities in every second. And my job is not to figure it out or try to conclude if it works or not. And not try to figure out this reality, but do use it to your advantage all the time. And they will show up in ways where you cannot understand why they show up and how easily they show up and what they want to gift you. Just because you change your point of view, you open a door to something nobody else would get. And then it's like, are you willing to choose it? Are you willing to have that in your life? Yes or no? I kept on hearing that with Gary so many times. You know, if you have heard Gary, he talks about when he goes to antique fairs or flea markets and he finds gold to super cheap prices and he chooses it. I haven't been in front of that, and oh my God, I almost like, this is too cheap. Like I'm making a lot of money. Shit. And I even I had to call a friend once, and I was like, I don't dare to sell this. I make so much money. And I was like, oh, she said, who the fuck are you being? I was like, I don't know. This is weird. Because my whole universe started exploding when I found things. And it's so funny. For the buyer, it's super cheap. And I was like, but in my world, I had resisted making money from things that I knew. And I was like, wow, this is a while ago, but was really fun to see where I had still some points of views, what was acceptable, what was okay. And not that it would be totally delivered in a way that it's just freaking simple, easy, and just joyful. And a lot. And I was like, oh, I had a point of view about a lot. I definitely had a point of view about a lot. So I had to still prove that I was worth money or something. I was like, okay, there's a lot of proving going on. And what if I'm willing just to be creating and not proving that something, whatever? And that's where I'm like, this question is just like, oh my God, I love this question. I use it from morning to evening with whatever. And I was like, this is very interesting. Because if I'm always in creation, what's truly possible for me, for the world, for other people? And because every space you be, you're inviting, I don't know how many people and energies into different possibilities. I don't know. I haven't figured that one out. But I do know, because your energy, people get your energy. They're aware of your energy. They're so freaking aware of your energy. Because when you're being something different, they just like, oh, you're like, you pop for somebody, especially the people that already know you, but other people too. They just like, oh, they choose you due to an energy. And they choose you, of course, if they can find you. It's really good if they can find you. Both energetically, but also physically. There's some people that do hide themselves. And if you hide yourself, then it's again, are you creating or are you proving? So what kinds of conversations do you have in your head right now, or questions or thoughts, or what else can we explore? Is there anything you're creating? Anything you'd like contribution to? What contribution can we be?
And how do you keep yourself from stopping? I mean, things are going well, and then it's like, oh wow, did I really do that? And then it's sort of almost impossible, and then it stops. And then I try to pot and pock that, like, oh yeah, fuck, that's stopping it. Pot and pock all that, pot and pock all that, and then somehow it doesn't come back.
So what if you're never truly stopping, and what if you don't have to get it back, but you can choose something again? So if something, so it looks like it stops, no? Because you decide something, and you do close the door in that moment. It doesn't necessarily stop, but in that moment you separate yourself if you have a point of view.
Yeah.
So the creation can still be there. It doesn't always, it can be also that the train left. I don't know. But if I look at creation in general, the energy is always there, but I separate myself from it. So I don't perceive it. I don't know it. I don't receive it anymore.
And then you start asking different questions.
Yeah, as you did, I pot and pock all the points of views, conclusions, and I sometimes have to do that a little bit, like a while or half an hour, or like explore the energies and like, hey, am I willing to choose something different here now? And what am I aware of here? And what questions can I ask? And then it's more like pot and pock wherever I stuck myself or whatever I chose, and then I go to the creation part. That means for me, choice. It's time to choose something. Time to choose. So that means for me, it's time for action. And sometimes it's a physical action. Sometimes it's a question. Sometimes it's calling somebody. Sometimes it's just posting something on Facebook just to get it moving. Because if I put it out there, I know I can't back off. For example, that could be a possibility. It doesn't have to be. But then there's sometimes action required. So I let go of my point of view that I have made right.
Yeah. Okay.
So if you look at that, if you say, hey, it stopped. Oh, am I proving or I'm creating now? I'm proving that it stopped. I have to figure out then I will say, yeah, it stopped because blah, blah, blah. So that's the proving part. And so like, oh, I perceive it stopped. What else is possible here? What can I create? What can I do? What energy, space, and consciousness can my body be? What can I be and do here to create something different? What's required for this to be created? What's required right now of me? So then I like just start, and sometimes like, okay, I just have to do something else. And then I get going doing something. And sometimes it can be I just clean the house just to get a different energy in my ride. Like it can be anything, but it also can be the creation. Because I don't believe creations really get lost or be stopped. Sometimes there's a timing, yes, because sometimes it's with people and all that. But for me, someone's like, does it ever die? Well, I don't perceive in my universe because it just changes and I do something else and I create something. So it's not like this creation has to occur. For me, it's creation.
Yeah.
Okay. So if one thing doesn't work out, because of course some things don't work out in the way I would like them, but then again, I might have a point of view how I would like them.
Yeah.
And
okay.
Then,
I get it.
Yeah. And that's why I know you have lots of infinite possibilities, but if you try to figure out how they look or how they should look, you're also excluding so many of them that would be fabulous for you.
Okay.
So for example, this is a standard one that a lot of people use, is they have the point of view, they don't have enough money, so they lack money. So then whatever they choose, they're more or less, usually unconsciously, looking to prove to make money.
Yeah.
To find the right way of making money, to find the right idea, to choose the right and not the wrong. Because there's still a point of view that they haven't made it or they don't have enough and all that. So if they don't let that go, they will always keep proving.
Yeah.
I had one thing that works for me in that moment. I don't have enough cash in my world at the moment. So the cash flow didn't work. That means I didn't have enough in my bank account, but I don't have to go I don't have money or I don't have enough. Okay, I went to like, there's not enough cash. So that means for me, it's now. It's not something it's not like a reality that it has to be all the time like that. It's just right now, the cash flow isn't working. It's not enough in my bank account. So but I don't make it my world. That can still happen now, but not in the same way. And it's totally different amounts. And I was like, oh, Lisen, you're so funny. I remember the days where 2,000 kronas were great on my account. And then I remember the days where 20,000 was awesome to have in my account in my business. I was like, yeah. And I was like, oh, it's different numbers now. And I was like, oh my God, you're so funny. Then I laugh about myself. I laugh about myself, the amount of money I would like to have in my world. And I was like, oh, that's not enough. Okay, cool. But don't make it so stupid. And you don't have to do anything with that, but you do have to start asking for something different. One of the things I decided, and this is also a little decision, and I might have to put in pocket also, I decided to care for me with money, that I have a certain amount of money caring for me. Because I created a universe where there was nothing. If I required anything, I was dependent on anybody else helping me. And I came to a point like, that doesn't work. I haven't been willing to build up security or support, energy that cares for me. And that means me caring for me. That was the problem. And when I looked at that, oh, I haven't been willing to build it up. So I built that up and in money and in assets and all that. And I was like, oh, I did that. Great. And then at this moment, I could really let go of that energy to create something different. And this is where I always look at all my creations and all the past creations. Oh, am I proving or am I creating? There says, beweisen ist vertrauter als kreieren. So proving is more, I'm more used to it, more comfortable, it's more intimate than creating. And I was like, yeah, that is so true. Very often proving is what we learned. And we don't see it. And that's why I've been so intensely asking, because every time I ask and I get the awareness, and it can be either or, both of them show up. And I was like, whoa. And I can acknowledge in that moment what I'm choosing. And then I can choose again. And I was like, this is fabulous. And I don't know how other people use this question, but I've seen myself that I'm not judging myself in that moment. It's truly just awareness. I mean, if you want to judge yourself, I think it doesn't matter what tool you use. You can choose to judge yourself, always. Personally, I've seen this question and maybe also been introduced to it by Stephen Tutissa in a very nurturing way. That might have been very helpful because they never judge me or anything we create. And I was like, it's very rare personally to have people to work with that do not have a point of view what you're choosing. They just want you to create and contribute and work and do whatever, but never judge you. Some things won't work or you change them, but it's been very nurturing. And I can say the first month's very detoxing. And I was like, oh, and I can say how often I had to also look at another energy that is not necessarily, well, can be proving is defending. And then let go of that too, because I was also defending choices so they don't lose money and all that. I'm like, okay, I have to let go of that because that's just choice. And, but also caring. So I care for that people make money. And I care for what expenses they have. And I look at it all like a bigger picture on it. And I've done that. I've always done that in Dane and Gary's classes too. And I was look at that. And then, but when it goes over to defending, that's where there's also a lot of reactions. And so I'm like, it does not really work very well. But the proving and creating, seeing that in action is just awareness. And even people that are very aware, they still choose it. I remember sitting in one creation meeting with them. We were in a hotel lounge and we were talking about something and Steven was asking blah, 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 and like talking about something. It's just like, are you choosing from proving or creating? And he's like, damn it, that was proving, damn it. And he's like, damn it. And then he's like, oh yeah, let's choose something else. And then he just chose something else. And it was just so cool to see in the moment, in the question. And if you know Stephen Tutissa is very direct doof. And Stephen gets that doof in his face very often. And he knows how to receive it. And that's really just freaking beautiful. But she doesn't ask, and this is also the next thing that I've seen in relationship, she doesn't ask a question to prove that she knows. She doesn't ask a question to prove that she is aware or that he's choosing wrong or anything. So her questions are different, like from the energy. They can be really intense and really direct. And you can, of course, react to everything. But I've seen the space she's being where I'm like, Oh, they're just questions. She just wants to move forward. She doesn't want to choose more. And it's like, as you know, Stephen says very often, it's very intense to live with her. And it's really cool because you get aware of a lot of things. But from asking that energy, from proving and creating and not judging, having judgment included in the question at all, and not even, it's really just about awareness. And when you get awareness, you have really choice. If you still want to judge you, it's still like you're again defending and proving. So what if you never, oh, that would be awesome. What if you never had to prove that you were wrong? Okay, everything that is times like feeling good about it. All my shorts, boys and beyonds. Wow, that would be, okay, that's a good question. I'm having that one with me. Oh my God, that would be awesome. That will be awesome. I don't want to do that anymore. Okay, cool. I feel like I'm talking to a lot of people without talking to them directly. I was like, this is fun. Do you guys have anything else or comments or questions or what we can create? This is really cool. That's interesting. Thank you, Fritja. That was awesome. Because I think a lot of people can relate to that, where you feel the creation isn't working. And also, sometimes it's the most amazing situation to be in, because that moment it can be that you might need to jump, you might need to do something that you've never done, and it's uncomfortable, and it feels like you might have in your world already. I mean, you use so many tools. We use so many tools against ourselves, and you might just like, hey, it's not there anymore. It's not working. What if it working perfectly, but you're not in that moment not willing to receive it? And are you willing to take a leap? Are you willing to know that the world is there for you? In the manipulation class, and I talked about it at some point, Gary really was so freaking clear. I mean, he's said it many times, but sometimes it's just like doink. And it synced into me the way he said it. He never, ever, 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 ever doubts the universe, ever, or consciousness, ever. He knows it creates with him. He knows that consciousness always has his back, always creates with him. He never doubts it. And when he said it, I could see so many energies where I had a point of view or a doubt or didn't think it would work. And I was like, oh God, I have a lot in my universe that more or less resembles doubt, or is doubt, or insecurity, or judgments, or point of view. And I was like, oh, that's not cool. And I was sitting there, and he was poof. He was like, poof, poof, poof. And I was like, whoa, that was intense. And then I saw it is a choice. It's a choice if I doubt. It's a choice if I dismiss. If it's a choice if I don't receive. It's a choice if I have a point of view this won't work. It's a freaking choice I choose. And I was like, okay. So if I'm talking about the universe contributing to me, or we being like creating together, because I do, and I perceive it very intensely in my universe. And then I'm like, oh my God, how much am I still dismissing and making it hard for the universe to contribute to things I'm creating, and just waiting for me to choose something else? If I was truly trusting that the universe has my back, or consciousness has my back, how would I be choosing? How would my world be like? How would I function? How would I be with everything? And I was like, oh, that would be very different. It would be so freaking different. I mean, I wouldn't need conclusions. And I was sitting there, I was like, oh my God, this is hilarious. How much time, energy do I use in this area to avoid the possibilities that are there? How often do I not leap? Do I not jump? Do I not really go like poof? Because I still haven't figured out how it will work. Instead of like, okay, I have the energy and I go for it, no matter what. In the German Zoom, somebody asked about it was really cool, a question about the whispers of the future. And so you're like, yes, finally. Where you're basically looking at something, you're asking questions, and then you can hear, you smell, you see. There's like a little wind, a little, it doesn't have to be windy. It's just like a little slightly thing. It can be a word, it can be a sentence, it can be an image, like a whisper from the future that just gives you something. And that is showing you a possibility or many possibilities. And if we're willing to choose in that moment, oh my God, I wonder what would be created. And I was looking at this trust thing. Okay, if I never doubted ever consciousness or the universe, how would I be choosing in every moment? So that's also one thing that I'm intensely asking my universe and really choosing every day. What contribution can I be? And he said that he adds that question every day, what contribution can he be? And he goes for it. Instead of figuring out how do I make this work, or how do I have enough money, or who can do it, he just chooses and then creates. Choice creates. I mean, the whole castle is an amazing example, and he brought that up a lot in class because he didn't figure out how to make anything work in the castle before he chose it. He just chose it, and then there was a lot of questions to to be asked, and along the way a lot. But he doesn't choose from efficiency, from the cheapest or the will make the most money. He looks at what will create a change on the planet, and whatever awareness he gets, he goes for it, and he doesn't doubt it. He does change his mind, but he doesn't doubt it. And he doesn't doubt it due to money or time, or like, I mean, a lot of people are efficient. They have to stop. They have to do it within this time frame. And he even said now to Elugar, like, even if the time frame doesn't work out, it's better we do it and create with nature than try to cut off things or cut corners and make it easier. No, it requires the time it requires. So he's not in for it. Let's make this happen quickly so we start making money. He never functioned for that. And I was like, oh, that's a very different energy. And he always creates money and new possibilities and new ideas. And I was like, and if he does it the way you like it or not, it doesn't, for me, it doesn't really matter. And some things I wouldn't choose the way he chooses, but it doesn't really matter. But the energy he's being, the energy he chooses from, that's what I was like, oh God, that's so freaking different. And he doesn't make any limitation from this reality real. And when he does, he kind of like, and then he changes it and he gets aware of it. And we all buy into this reality. So we're not bad people for doing it or less aware or anything. It's just a way that we do. And when we ask more questions and get over our points of views of right and wrong, there's so much more possible. But what if, so what if we did allow the universe and consciousness to contribute to us, like truly? And we knew, I mean, the part for me that keeps on popping in my head when I look at his avatar, and when they're running around in the forest and the branches and leaves are there and support them, and so they jump and they walk and the leaf is there. When they choose, it's there. It's contributing to you. It's caring for you. It's nurturing. So everything's in communion. And I was like, so then I ask, is that possible? And I get yes. And it doesn't look like that. I might not be jumping around in the jungle and every leaf contributes, but what if that's my daily life in this world and what's in front of me now? And that's the question, if I'm willing to be that, have that, and not have a conclusion about it, not try to make a picture how that will look like, and allow it to show up in the way it will show up. But ask for it and ask for greater than I can even imagine. And it's intense. Some days are really freaking intense because, of course, I have points of views. They show up and I was like, arr, and I try to figure out how to change them. And I'm like, fuck, change. And then I go back and I re-listen. This morning again, I re-listened to part of the class. And I was like, that is intense. And it's so freaking clear. Am I willing to have that clarity in my world, or do I still like my small, pathetic problems? I'm tired of, or bored. Bored is a really good one. Oh, so many people use bored. I'm bored as a reason justification not to create. I was like, I don't use that one very often because when I get bored, I start destroying, and I'm so aware that doesn't work. And I usually only get bored when I don't have enough new things going on in my life. I don't have new creations. If I'm an autopilot of awesome creations, I get bored. It's like, it's the same. It's like a fabric of great creations, but they're in my world the same. For somebody else, they're super new, but in my world, it's the same. And if I don't have enough new things adding, I can, in my creation, still add new things. So it's just the willingness to change them and create, or to prove that I have a more point of view and it's real. And that's what everything's proving. Like, oh my God, I'm like, it's hilarious. So I'm having a little bit fun with myself with this topic, and it's also showing me really such a different world space possibilities when I am asking. And that's why I wanted to bring it up, because I see so much happening in my world and with friends and clients and all that. I'm like, this is one question. And then there's a lot of things added to that, but there's one question that can really create a different universe. Another one that I used a lot is, well, it's not a question in that way, but the 10% account. It changed my whole world with money. But I also used it as a tool, a facilitation, and I was constantly talking, and I did ask it a lot of questions, because some people are like, it's just 10%. No, 10% account created a extremely change in my world. And it's not that I went out and learned so much about everything else. The 10% account changed my world. But I also was in contact communication, asking a question. It was showing me so much. So I know everything we choose can contribute to anything you desire. But the key is the questions. What I see, this is my personal experience, and people will have difference. And this is just sharing the way I work with it.
And Lisen, the money you created to nurture you, is that related to the 10% account, or is that separate?
Separate, but it started together, I could say. So the 10% was the first choice. I had learned about I had read books where it said like build up an income, build up an amount of money that you don't have to work for 6 months and live really well. So you have to know what it costs to live your life really in detail. And then, okay, this is the amount. And I looked at it, and when I looked at it, this was like, even if it was just 2,000 euros, but that was, when I looked at it, it could be more. But if I looked, it was 2,000 euros. That was a big world for me to build that up for 6 months. And I was like, that was huge. But then when I started, because there was a lot of points of views. When I started the 10%, it was easy. It was just 10%. It wasn't, no, the first 3 months were not easy. But when I started going, it became like a choice to have in my world. And then I chose it. Then I built up a certain amount. And I was like, oh, this is nurturing carry. Then I built up an amount that is there for me to use if I require it. So I did a build up separately, but I started with the 10%, and the 10% started nurturing me too, because I could not walk around and say I don't have money anymore. But it was a choice for me to stop myself when I heard it. I remember hearing it when I got aware of it. I think it was even the second month, and I could say my 10% was almost nothing. But I heard myself, I don't have money. And it's like, hey, Lisen, you are freaking lying. You have this amount. It's not what you want. It's very small, but you cannot say you don't have money. I have, even if it was like 100 euro or 2. I don't remember. No, it was very small. But I caught myself with a lie, and I was like, that's not okay. And by that choice, I changed a lot of my points of views that was just running my life. So everything is, along the way, it's all choice and questions as well. But everything can contribute to everything in your life. I mean, do you have kids? Do you have facilitators up in your face from morning to evening? I mean, you're fucking lucky. I have an awesome dog. She doesn't annoy me as much as kids usually. Sorry, guys. But kids know how to annoy you a little bit better. My dog is like, oh, I have a great life, and goes to sleep. The first year, she did annoy me much more. Oh my God. One of my friends today, oh God, her daughter is 18 months. She's fucking knowing how to be a bitch. The kids really know how to be bitches, like consciously. She goes and like gets she has a water bottle, huh? She's 18 months, can drink from big ones. So she gave her a smaller one. And she's like, I'm going to drink a little bit. And then looks, and does this and just pours it on the floor and looks at her. And her mom's like, Argh! And cleans it up and doesn't do so much drama. Just a bit later, they're somewhere else in the apartment. She's going to drink. Okay, have your bottle, blah, blah, blah. And she drinks a little bit. And does this thing, pour it again over the carpet. And the mother was like, bursting out. I'm like, yeah, I think that was appropriate, you bursting out, because that's fucking a bitch. Like, she's consciously 18 months old, pushing your buttons, knowing to manipulate, getting you triggered, and controlling you. She knows she can control you. I'm like, this is awesome. I couldn't stop laughing, because like, kids are bitches. If we don't get it, I'm sorry, everybody that doesn't like to hear this. I got over my points of views at the manipulation class because this was brought up again. Cute little beings that are willing to be bitches when they choose to be bitches. Dot. And Christina was like, I got so much like this. I'm like, yeah, that's okay. She knows. Yeah, and she's so freaking aware, this little kid. And if you don't make it wrong, you see that they have no limits of what they're willing to do because they don't have points of views. You need to give them information so they can be aware of this world and not become evil little fucks, because they could choose that too if you don't get them to know what they're choosing and what that creates out in the world. Because they can just trigger you, but they can also become really mean in that way. But this is where you as a parent can give them information to be aware, and they still can choose whatever they're choosing. And Christina, I wonder what she does when she's in kindergarten. I'm like, well, she's not going to choose that, that's for sure. But this is the fun part. If you look at things, everything can contribute to you. Everything can contribute to you to grow, to change, to choose. But you have to be willing to choose things that are, because if you choose something you have never chosen before, it's usually uncomfortable. In any level, like any level. It doesn't even matter where you are. And this is where we don't see, you get used to things and then you get used to things. And I see the more, like, I make more money, I get more wealthy. I was like, but some things get comfortable. And I was like, wow, it's one thing when you get comfortable with money, you also stop creating. I didn't even think about this before. Anytime you say, oh, this is good, it's working, oh, this is great, you stop usually creating unconsciously because you're good, you're satisfied, you're comfortable. So comfortable is not necessarily a great energy to go for, just putting it out there. If you're willing to be uncomfortable in your life, you have so much more ease and joy creating. It doesn't mean it will become comfortable. Not at all. But if you're willing to have fun, if you're willing to go around and it's fucking uncomfortable, your life is going to change. If you're constantly trying to make it comfortable, you're trying to put yourself in a box where you feel comfortable, and that's usually the things you have already done, the things that are a limitation in your world, the things that are your daily life. Sorry, Annette, if I'm very, very fast. I was like, oh, some people are here to learn a bit of English. Oops. But what if uncomfortable is if you're willing to just be uncomfortable? And I can see when I have stepped into other things where I stop myself for not being more uncomfortable, well, because I think I've been so freaking uncomfortable. I'm like, oh, wow, that was interesting point of view there. So am I creating or proving? Oh, I'm proving something. Okay, bye. So I have to look what kind of life I would like to have. So this is where you kind of look at your targets in life or where you're heading. Like, look at the energies you like. For me, I like to create more consciousness. I like to create more change, and people know that they have infinite possibilities. So these are kind of the things, and I like traveling. These are the energies that get me all the time excited. All the time. I see, because I was looking at this a lot, because Stephen just as we were asking that, and I kept on like, yay, avoiding it. And I was like, okay, what are the things that always make me happy and excited? Change, consciousness, possibilities, travel, and animals. But that's in there. And then you can put other things, but you don't have to put it down to a definition about it. It's more an energy. And so anything I choose, I kind of goes through that filter of consciousness, possibilities, creating change, da 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 da. So when it goes through, it goes like that when I'm heading there. But if I'm comfortable in what I go, it's like, ooh, but it's from my head where I feel like, oh, I can just relax, I can take a day off. And I was like, but that doesn't get me going. It doesn't really excite me. I don't get happier. It's not that I get unhappy with other, but I get comfortable in this reality instead of, am I really truly willing to create change? Am I willing to go for more consciousness? Am I willing to contribute to other people knowing everything's possible? And when I ask that, yes, 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 and yes, from that energy, when I'm aware about the energy, when I ask questions about creation and proving and all that, it becomes so clear because I have that as my clarity of creation, of an energy. It's not a conclusion. It's not the way. It has no definition. It has no result. It has no, it looks like this. I can create all of that just being shopping in a supermarket. It created so freaking much change with them. I'm like, that was awesome. And that makes like, oh, wow, that's awesome. But along the way, if I'm willing to have clarity in what I would like to create, and it still goes, I still have more ideas and thoughts, and I can that and that and that, and days where it's like super clear and days that it's not. But if I look at it, if I'm energetically connected to creating more consciousness, my body is always like, yes, let's do it. If I have a point of view, oh, I should be doing this, or this should be, or have a result in mind, that's where the limitations kick in and become real. And then the questions are different. Or most likely I will not ask questions and have more conclusions. And this is one of the ways I've been seeing my world different, is asking, am I creating or am I improving? And I don't have to explain. I don't have to do anything. I can just ask. And I don't, of course, if I don't want to have the awareness, I won't get any awareness. It will still be there, but I won't maybe receive it. This is where choice comes in. Choice creates. It doesn't mean it will be the perfect choice, but it will definitely create a lot of awareness. And with that awareness, you will choose totally different. Totally different. That's why there is no really bad choices, because they're so full of awareness, the things that don't work out perfectly or a bit like a bump in the road. So we had a bump in the road in the foundation class in Germany, where the person where I rented the venue got totally insane and freaked out and was like drama beyond and kicked me out of the venue. And I was living there too. And I can say, if my universe was not so clear that there's always a venue for me, I might have freaked out. Because I was telling this to my friend today. She's like, but you didn't have any reaction. I'm like, no, I knew, no, there's always a venue for my class. And I was like, and within half an hour, I knew where we were moving. And I was like, oh, that was interesting. If I had in my world that it might be hard on a Saturday evening to find a new venue for Sunday morning, it might not have been easy to create. But in my world, I started calling where we had been the same day at lunch, and I called the hotel. They didn't pick up, so I just drove there, and then it was created within half an hour. And I was like, oh, every bump in the road, has tons of possibilities. So every reaction, every point of view is full of possibilities, full of them. But when I decide it's a problem, when I decide it doesn't work out, when I decide, then is where I exclude the possibilities that are there in front of my face. In front of my face. And then magical people were there and contribute to the physical move. And it was just beautiful. But if I had made a drama out of it or made it wrong, that would also be a creation, but might be a different one. So in every situation, even when things don't work out great, you have tons of possibilities. And the way I act or react creates also different possibilities. And if I'm creating or I am proving, because I could prove she's wrong, she's insane, let's just say it, and that's a dot. And her insanity just continues. And I was like, oh, this is really funny, but I don't have to make it wrong. But I can also just see what is. And oops, that was a moment of unconsciousness where I didn't ask a question. And I thought, okay, great, let's just change it and create. And when I change and create, this happens. If I have to prove my point and make that real, you might be correct, and it doesn't really matter. And you can be correct, but you don't have to prove a point, and you don't have to prove that you know, or that you don't know, or you made it wrong, or you made it right. What if you're willing just to create, choose, and not try to prove any of your choices? And then this world might need you to explain some things, and then you say it. and you say words that they would like to hear, it doesn't really matter. You know what you chose, you know what you created. If you acknowledge that for you, however you phrase it to somebody else, just do it in the way they can hear it. And you might say the same, but just slightly a little different angle or that one to make it work for them. Because if you say some things, they might react, and then you know that. And you don't have to prove that you're magical. You just know it, be it. Know it and be it, and allow it to be. If you need to prove that you're magical, you again contract the energies. So what are the infinite possibilities for you to choose to be who you be without proving who you be? You don't have to prove who you be, you just know. And when you know, you can choose some more. I can say Greta from Sweden, that is striking for climate change. She's inspiring me a lot because she's freaking amazing. A 16-year-old girl goes in front of the European Parliament and has a speech that is outstanding. Whatever she says, it doesn't matter if it's right or wrong, but she doesn't come from the point of view that it's wrong. She doesn't judge. She's not coming from judgment and proving a point. She's making very clear points of views and what is required. But if you hear her, it's not from judgment, judging you. It's more like, fuck, we need to change this. And I love how she says, this is so, the future we're creating and voting for, I don't get to even have a vote, but it affects me the most. And I was like, that's freaking true. She will most likely be there longer than me, but I get to choose it. And I was like, wow. She's making really clear things where I'm like, people have not been willing to listen. And now she's nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. She's 16. She started 35 weeks ago to protest, to go on strike 1 day a week. And after 35 weeks, she gets nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize. I was like, I think all of us can create a fucking change if we're willing to step up and choose what we know. Doesn't have to be right. We know things and we can go for it. And there's so many against it. I mean, every time I post on Facebook our contribution, there's always somebody reacting against the post. And I was like, wow, one time somebody was attacking the post or her, that she's being abused. And I was like, and this was even an Access person. That was really hilarious. Not somebody maybe that does a lot of Access, but it was like, how can I impose an abuse on her without asking her? I was like, that's really for me again. What? And another one reacted on something else about her. I'm like, wow, she's really creating awareness. I love when people react because that means she is triggering people. She is getting some response. She is getting a word out there. And I mean, the press is on her. In other countries, they're writing a lot about her. I don't even know if the press is writing in Sweden because I don't read the newspapers here. But when I come to different countries, they start asking me about things. And I'm like, you guys know almost more about her than I do. This is awesome. In Germany, there's a lot about her. And I was like, wow, this is really cool. And how she's moving a lot more teenagers to have a voice. This is one person creating. Create your choice, create. So all of us, and we don't have to make us like special or anything, but you might become the change that's required if you're willing to choose. We're constantly proving our choices. We're proving from this reality standards, not what's really possible. I can see as a teenager, I was just like reacting to everything. I did create some movements, but they were mostly, I think, from reaction. And then there were some other things where I got graffiti legalized in school. I did some things where I'm like, this has to change. But again, there was a lot of reactions. In her, I don't see as much reactions. I do see that she's freaking aware that it's we're getting close to the tipping point where we don't have a way back. And I was like, oh, Gary has been talking a lot about that in class. I'm like, this is funny. It's arising. Awareness is arising. So every choice you make, we contribute to awareness and consciousness on the planet. So your choice does contribute. Your choice does matter. We just don't get it. Because if I need to prove that my choice is right, I am freaking stupid. I don't talk that, but I'm limiting so many possibilities. Because if I use questions and I get aware and I choose, it's almost like I'm choosing awareness. I'm choosing collectively with things, and I'm willing to be aware. And what contribution can I be today to the planet, to you, to everything? I get aware of things, and then if I act on that, hey, what else is possible? And just being aware can create a change. Just you being aware instead of going unconscious or having a point of view creates. Just that creates. It's like the space. It's not what I see when I'm around people that have space. There's so much more space. So there's like the possibility just like go poof. When I'm around people that have more points of views, I have to be more aware to choose to have my space. Because otherwise I just, I was like, oh, this feels heavy. Instead of like, no. That's not my point of view. That's not my energy. I'm this. So if I get aware about my, people are saying bye-bye. So I get aware of my reality, how my reality looks like. I crave for something different. That's what Gary, I don't know when I start hearing him say, and it's many years ago, you have to be aware of your reality. Your reality. Nobody else has it. You might get inspired, but it's your reality. And I'm getting closer to others, like getting it, because I was trying to figure it out. And then I started asking many more questions because I know this is not one from my head. This is for awareness. And then I do have to choose it. That my reality is very different than anybody else's reality, and it's not better or anything. It's just a choice. So all of this came to a different level of conversation, but again, it starts with the questions we're willing to ask and willing to be. I love that Hela's going to dinner. She's having Spanish dinner. I like this. Oh God, I missed the dinners in Spain. Do you guys have any more questions? I'm very grateful for you guys. This is a really cool energy, and I'm even getting more clear on things to be aware of for me as well, and I hope you guys too.
It sometimes gives such a good feeling to, because you said something about, do you dare to be wrong?
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes it gives such a good feeling if you are right.
That's so cute. Yeah.
So it's sometimes like, fuck, I won't do anything with it, but it just gives me such a great feeling. And then maybe sometimes I'd like to say it out loud, which is not a good idea. But
because I mean, comes from the energy of being right and wrong. So if you're right, somebody else is wrong, per definition. No? And if I have to prove I'm right, I also have a point of view somebody else is wrong, unconsciously, or not necessarily consciously. But then I'm also putting myself superior to other people. So what I look at when I'm in that energy, what I love about being right. And then I start letting that go, parking, and like, okay, what if I'm just aware?
Okay.
Because then otherwise you have to prove that you're right. And at the same time, there's wrong also in you. So that is a point of view. It's not correct. It's just a point of view.
Yeah, but sometimes it gives you a good feeling when you feel like a sucker, but still it's a good thing to pot it.
Yeah, and you have to see are you willing. Well, what kind of reality would you like to have with people?
Yeah.
Because this is where, okay, it gives you a good feeling for the moment, no? Nothing wrong with that. But when you feel that good moment, and you want to share it as well, what does that create towards other people? How do they perceive it? How do they feel? How do you invite them to your world? Do you separate them? What are you creating with them or against them?
Well, sometimes even if you say just thank you for that somebody acknowledges that you're right, and you say thank you. It's not. Well, I don't see that as giving somebody else a bad feeling. But no, but I see what you mean. I see what you mean. It's a point of view.
It depends if you come from the point of view that you're right, that energy is then there. Because you can say thank you in many ways. You can be totally vulnerable, and then you're never right. Then you, because when you have, okay, this is where you have to be honest to yourself, and if you get aware, okay, I like being right. Okay, that is an energy that often does not create more with people.
No.
And then I look, when I get aware of myself, because I mean, we all come to those points and look at them, and a lot of us have that because we want to avoid being wrong. So then we like when we're right, because then we're not wrong. Although we know we're quite wrong as well. But if you come to that point and you look, okay, what kind of relationships do I want to create? And how do I feel when people are right or want to make a point that they're right? Well, it doesn't feel yummy. I don't feel invited. I don't feel closer to them. Okay. Is that really what I want to create with them?
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So this is where how I look at things when I get aware of it. And then I'm like, So, and then I bring it to the bigger picture. I like, okay, if I'm creating the world I would like to live in, how would I be with this situation? And what is required for me in that moment to create the world I would like to live in?
Yeah.
Because I bring it into this space, small, just to look at it. And sometimes I need a bigger like energy awareness about it to fucking get over my little comfortable shit in that moment. And this is where I'm at the point where I'm like, yeah, I was fighting to create consciousness, and I was leaning back to have a little space to look at everything and relax and just like, is this really what I want to create? And now I'm like, fuck it. This is fucking insane if I'm not willing to use my awareness, my energy, my potency, my creations to create a different world. And am I willing to be a part of creating the world I would like to live in? Yes or no? And I said, fuck yes. But that also means a lot of change in me, for me, with me, me, here with this world, but here a lot.
Yeah. I see what you mean. And it's constantly a choice.
Yes.
Choice.
And the thing is also to be aware, you can be correct, but when you need the energy of being right, there's usually a lack that you have made real in you.
Thank you for that. Yes.
And then I would unpack all the lies of lack and the realities you have made real of lack that are not. Can we just start and create them?
Yes.
Get a matter around for buck all 9 shorts, boys and beyonds, and keep on working with that a little bit so they're not your reality, because then you can enjoy moments so much more. Like every moment can have full joy for you.
Yeah.
And people also have more ease being with people that don't have to prove.
Yeah.
And just by bringing this up, Fritja, you're changing your world. Otherwise, you would not bring it up.
Oh, cool.
No. If you just want to be right, you'll just continue being right. You wouldn't bring up that topic here. You wouldn't be that insane. Because this could be that you're wrong now. You get it? Like that's the beautiful thing of being really vulnerable. I like being right. Awesome. That's not a wrongness, but what does it create? And is this what you would like to create with people? Yes or no? And then if you look at if I added one question that changed a lot my universe in energies and how I look at the world, is when I started asking every day, what contribution can I be? And it just started clicking, the energy of the difference in my world when I started. It was not like a fantasy world or energy to look at. I was like, what contribution can I be? And then one day it was just an energy. And it changed a lot in me. Like it changed so much. And then I asked, what contribution can I be to you? To anything, but what contribution can I be to the world? every time. Also now I say it and the energy changes in me, and I was like, this is crazy. No, this is awesome. What else is possible? So sometimes we need, sometimes a different perspective, some different questions, something that triggers you. And if you don't find it, ask for it. It will show up. I just knew I had to go to this manipulation class. I did not know why. I love the manipulation class anyway, generally. So, but from the awareness, looking where to go and what classes, that one was like, hell yes, there's no question mark, you go. And I was like, okay, this is interesting. And the things that were addressed there, some of them were like blowing my mind of how I was creating, and I wasn't really, it wasn't good enough in the way like there's more possible, and I hadn't been willing to choose it. And the things that Gary addressed that got so clear from me that I haven't been willing 100% to ask, what contribution can I be? That also means that I'm willing to acknowledge that I am a contribution and not judge it, not prove it, no point of view, but fucking realizing I am, because I avoided that too. I was like, you can be really creative against things and yourself. I was like, I have created a lot, but I still, when you compare to others, you might create a lot. But when you look at yourself, and this is why the only comparison that really works is with yourself, I look, fuck Lisen, you're not creating shit. And then everybody else, but you're doing this. Yeah, but that's my standard way. You're not creating shit. And this means new things. And I'm like, yeah, I know. But then if I'm okay being right, then everybody tells me how amazing I am. And I was like, oh God, because it doesn't work in my universe. And I was like, oh, this is really, it's been really helpful for me in getting that so fucking clear. I'm up in my face. And I was like, oh, there's a different question to ask. That changed the whole energy in my whole system. And it's still changing. Because that also requires a lot of the willingness and the choice to have trust. But it has changed a lot. That improving, oh my God. So that's why I wanted to share with the world a little bit of these aspects. Not because I have it right. It's more like, okay, I can make an invitation to things that are going on in my world that have been different, that have created something very different, and they have been out there for a long time. So a lot of you might already be doing them and choosing them, and that's great. And it's not that we haven't, and then now we are. I think we have had that all. It's like the things I'm saying, I don't think are really new. For me, they're like up in my face. They're like so big signs. And I see in my world the last 10 years how much I've chosen this, and then I'm like, now it's a different choice. And that's why I just, okay, I'll go out and talk about this a little bit more. Might contribute to one or other, and that's going to change the world. And this is where I'm like, okay, Lisa, stop. Whatever. I sometimes like, yeah, but everybody else does that or that. And then I just don't do things. And I was like, oh, but what if I never stopped what I knew? What if I always were willing to contribute, talk, share, whatever I'm aware of, and don't care if somebody else is doing it or it's already been done, or like, what if you just choose it? What if your voice does matter every day? Not in the way I thought it would, not in the way I might think it will. What if it does matter? I have avoided my business to grow a lot. I see how much it could create and aware, and then I'm like, oh, but then this, and I make some limitations real. I make limitations of who works with me or how I would like to work and controlling things. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm not even willing to have so many people working with my company. I'm like, oh, it's fucking hilarious. It's hilarious when you look at yourself and you get aware about your limitation. It's freaking funny, annoying. And then there's this thing happening, or this thing you can do that's called choice, and that's even more annoying sometimes. So I tend to start laughing about myself because my limitations are real for me, but they're not real. So why would I not have a joke about it and then choose something? And then I avoid choosing for a long time, and then I'm like, oh, and then I have long walks with my dog and talk to her. Then she needs a long break afterwards. No. She doesn't have so many points of views about things, but she's funny. Awesome facilitator. Very, very grateful. I'm very grateful for you guys. This was a fucking amazing conversation. And the space, I'm really grateful for you guys. And if there's anything I can be or do and create with you guys, let me know. What else is possible? And Christina, your day starts, and well, mine doesn't end yet, but amazing. She's in New Zealand.
Yeah, I am gonna go for a walk at the beach soon.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
But you're already one day ahead.
Yes, we are. Yeah. It's Monday morning here. Yeah.
I'm getting to my Monday soon. It just, oh my God, I'm flying on my Monday. I should maybe start packing or thinking about things like that.
You'll get that.
Really bad at that. Pardon, Park. Yes, I will pack. No worries. I'll get my luggage going. But I wish you guys a really great evening, night, day, and let's continue having conversations and creating stuff and willing to be a different space, create a different reality. Whatever we can do. Mwah! Adore you guys. Thank you so much.
Bye, Lisen.
Adios.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Lisen. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.